Hey folks, welcome back. In this section of the course, we're going to talk about DynamoDB. And as we probably know by now, DynamoDB is AWS's fully managed NoSQL database service. Now, if you recently completed the Developer Associate exam or you work with DynamoDB regularly, the first 3 lessons in this section of the course are probably going to be review for you. And review is always good, but if you want to skip those, that's fine as well. Now, on the DevOps Pro certification exam, your mileage may vary on the amount of DynamoDB you see on the exam, but there's certainly enough of it that we should cover it. All right, to assist with this lesson, I've created a few DynamoDB tables. So in the management console, I'm going to go into DynamoDB and into tables. So I've created 4 tables, and that's a key point. In DynamoDB, we don't create databases, we create tables. And since it's in NoSQL, we don't have to specify a schema, just a primary key. And we call that key the partition key. Now, the partition key, and we're also going to have a sort key. And these 2 items taken together represent a unique item ID. So if items have the same partition key, they are stored together, but the sort key specifies the order in which they are stored. The partition key doesn't have to be unique between items, but the sort key does. Let's go back to the main dashboard quickly. Note: provision read capacity 25, provision write capacity 25. Let's keep that number in mind. Let's go back to tables and scroll over a little bit. And notice that each of our tables has a read and write capacity. And oh, by the way, these add up to the 25 that we saw on the dashboard. And these capacities ensure that we have enough hardware reserved to meet our needs. And we'll talk much more about this throughout the section. Now let's check out our product catalog table. And let's click on the items tab. And again, note that our IDs are unique. There are no duplicates. So that is our primary partition key. Now another point is there's no sort key in this table. So this primary key is going to allow us to query this table. And when we do that, it performs a scan or a query on the table based on this ID. And between the two, the query option is the much cheaper of the two, because with query, we can specify values to further distinguish our search. So just as an example, let's put in a ID, and quickly it selects the matching record. We could also do some filtering, enter an attribute, string, binary, or number, and greater than equal, less than equal, less than, and so on. Now, with this table, we can only search on this ID. Now, if you have more complex searches you want to do, you'll have to create a more complex table. You'll have to have a sort key, or you can set up secondary indexes, and this section will have a lesson devoted to secondary indexes. Now, of course, I performed a search in the console, but we could do this same thing in our code using the appropriate SDK commands. All right, let's check out another table. Let's go to forum. And note that forum, of course, it has a partition key, but still does not have a sort key. So let's check out this table. So use case, let's say we have a web application and we have a forum page. So these 2 would be our topics. Now a key point here is that our ID is a string. So when we do a search, we're just going to we're going to be searching on a string value. All right, now let's check out one of the more complex tables. Let's check out our reply table. And note, it has a partition key as well as a sort key. A reply date time is a sort key. So note that we have these duplicate IDs, thread 1 and thread 2, and to delineate, we have our sort key, the reply date time, which is going to order these by the reply date time. Note that this first one is 9:15, whereas the second one is 9:22. And again, this one is 9:29, second one is 10:05. All right, for demonstration purposes, let's query by this ID. So let's paste that in, but note, we could also query by the sort key. We could use both of these in our query. So for now, we're searching on this thread 1. And of course, we can see what we're going to get. 2 results. All right, so that was a walkthrough on our primary key, which is the partition key, and also the sort key. So in this table particularly, we could do a search by partition key and sort key, which is the ID and this reply date time. Now, what if we wanted to search by user, this posted by? Well, that's where secondary indexes come into play. And in the next lesson, we'll talk about local secondary indexes and global secondary indexes. So with that, we've completed this lesson on DynamoDB Essentials. Go ahead and mark this complete, and let's move on to the next.